Hello, hi, and greetings, Porter County, and welcome to yet another edition of the PoCo Wellness Hour, right here on WVLP 103.1 FM, your voice for local community radio and your show for health, community connection, and overall well-being. I'm Demetrius Lewis, Communications Manager for the Porter County Health Department. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this program, here on the PoCo Wellness Hour, we like to shine a spotlight on the incredible health initiatives that are shaping our community and the powerful partnerships that make it all possible. From local organizations working to improve public health to the innovative programs led by the Porter County Health Department. This show is your guide to stay informed, inspired, and engaged on your wellness journey. So please sit back, relax, and let's dive into today's conversation about building a healthier Porter County. Together, that is. Now, today we have a very special guest joining us, and we're going to educate you on some of the important initiatives, life-saving initiatives, and programs that are vital to not just our community, but every community in the USA. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Nick Christian. Nick, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty well. Thanks.
Well, I'd like to have you introduce yourself a little bit to the crowd, a little bit to our audience. Let's talk a little bit about who you are. I understand you are the program director with the Crisis Center in Gary. Let's just give the people a little bit of background about who you are, Nick.
Sure. Yeah. So the Crisis Center is one big organization. I fall under what's called the Crisis Contact 988 program, which I am the program director. So a program of about 30 people with 4 other administration staff that does a little bit of outreach, suicide prevention and intervention programs, and then also we are a call center for the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline.
Understood. Are you from the area, sir? Are you a Northeast Indiana resident, or what's a little bit about your background?
Born and raised in Portage. Went off to school, came back, and have been Northwest Indiana the rest of my life.
Okay, you're a homer.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Well, we're pleased to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for your time. Let's just dive right into it, if you don't mind, sir. Let's talk a little bit about the Crisis Center in Miller Beach. What is the mission of the Crisis Center? What is the purpose of your facility, of your organization?
Sure. So, we can just start off with our mission statement, which is opening a path for, opening a path of hope for lives in crisis. We've been around for over 50 years. We cover a lot of different things, mostly youth-based programs. So we're a licensed Department of Child Services, residential child caring institution, and a national safe place. The Crisis Center is also accredited by the Commission of Accreditation of Rehabilitation Services, which is called CARF, the Indiana Youth Service Association, which is called IYSA, and the International Council of Helplines, which accredits the 988 program. We have a long-term residential program, which is accredited by the Qualified Residential Treatment Program, QRTP, and our residential programs include Safe Place, Safely Home, Open Residential, Emergency Shelter, and we have some other programs like Teen Court and that 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline we talked about.
A lot of important stuff right there. So the organization has been around about 50 years. Can we talk a little bit about what community needs led to the creation of the Crisis Center?
Yeah, so interesting story. We were one of the first kind of crisis lifelines in the nation, founded in 1971 due to a teen who died by suicide in Gary. A lot of local volunteers and community members came together and basically said, hey, if this person had someone to talk to, this may not have happened. So they created this thing called the RAP line way back in 1971, and it was just a crisis line that people could call in during scheduled hours and have somebody to talk to. And that has kind of snowballed, and obviously, with all those programs I just talked about, the Crisis Center has really grown over the last 50 years, but we've never really lost that crisis and suicide lifeline part, and that's why we are now part of the 988 and Suicide and Crisis Lifeline call centers for the state of Indiana.
So you mentioned the RAP line. Is that different than the 988 hotline, or are they one and the same?
So we've kind of evolved throughout the years, but initially it was just a RAP line. It had nothing to do with anybody else, any other programs. It was just a community-based resource for people who needed somebody to talk to. And then throughout the years, as this lifeline and crisis lines kind of evolved, we've kind of jumped on different ships, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Before it was the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, and now we've evolved into 988.
Gotcha. A slow, steady progression. I see you. So my next question, you kind of touched on this a little bit about the different types of services that the Crisis Center offers beyond the 988 hotline. Would you like to touch on anything else? Are there any other programs that you think you missed in a little introduction, sir?
Yeah, I threw out a lot of acronyms, a lot of words. So a lot of the time we just say the Crisis Center. It helps youth. It's a lot of youth-based services and housing for local Northwest Indiana, and also all Indiana homeless and at-risk youth from the ages of 10 to 20. And it helps them establish stability, safety, and help them work towards a hopeful future.
Understood. Who are the primary individuals or demographic that you're aiming to support? It's not just the teens, right? It's not just young adults.
Yeah, so for 988, it's anybody that can call, text, or chat. You could be as young as, I guess, maybe 5 or 6 if you can dial a phone number or get on. I know kids with iPads these days can get on different things, so they have somebody to talk to, and it can be all the way up to our elderlies in their 80s and 90s. So anybody that needs somebody to talk to, 988 is there for them.
Okay. Let's go into our next segment and talk a little bit more about the 988 hotline. So the 988 hotline is a critical part to crisis response, not just in Porter County, not just Northwest Indiana, but all over the U.S. Can you explain its purpose and what kind of situations it's meant for?
Yeah, so when people hear 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, kind of that suicide jumps out. But that's just a small component of what 988 is. So it is a free, confidential resource available 24/7, 365. It's free, it's anonymous, and it'll connect you with a compassionate, caring, empathetic crisis specialist. So it can be anything from those thoughts of suicide. It could be mental health problems. It could be substance use. Sometimes we just have people that have nobody else in their life to talk to, so we're that ear for them to vent to. It can be people who are going through emotional distress. There's not one thing that we won't talk about. We are happy to work with you on whatever you're going through. So even if it's not necessarily you going through something, but you're worried about someone who's going potentially through something, you can call and get some resources. You can call and get some guidance from our crisis specialist on how to help them.
You answered my next question. I was going to ask you, is this something for people who are only in an immediate crisis, or is this something that you would encourage people who have a loved one or a friend who may be experiencing some issues for them to reach out to the hotline as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a lot of what we call third-party callers. So they will reach out, touch base with our crisis specialists, and we will give them some guidance on how they can potentially help that loved one. We will point them in the direction, give them some resources. But what's most important to remember is that we're just not telling somebody what to do. It's a collaborative process where we're going to work with them and see what best fits them or their loved one, and then try and get them those resources for that.
Understood. So can we talk a little bit about how does the 988 call typically unfold, like from the moment when someone calls in? What is that scenario kind of like?
Sure, they're going to hit an IVR. It's going to give them a couple choices. So you can choose one if you're a veteran or calling about a veteran, and it'll connect you to what's called the Veterans Crisis Line. You can choose 2, that'll connect you to the Spanish-speaking line. You can choose 3, that'll get you to LGBTQ+ through the Trevor line.
Can we talk a little bit about how long the hotline has been available in our region here in Northwest Indiana? I'm going back to my Fort Wayne roots, in Northwest Indiana. How long has it been received by our community here in Northwest Indiana?
Yeah, so 1971, we started at the Crisis Center, the first line, maybe the first of its kind in Indiana, and really it's been available some part of another since then in Northwest Indiana for local residents. But throughout those years, it's, like I said, it's evolved into the new National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, the Veterans Crisis Line. So there's always been something like that available. And then 988 kind of combined all these great lines in July of 2022 and kind of stopped you from having to remember 15 different numbers. So you can call 988 from any touch-tone phone, any cell phone. You can get on a computer. You can chat by going to the website. And yeah, it's been available since July 22, 24/7, 365.
That is awesome. Support for everyone who needs it all around the clock. let's move to our next segment, if you don't mind. I want to talk about the people behind the support. What kind of training or background do the crisis what kind of training or background do the crisis managers need to kind of take part in, when it comes to those intervening in those kinds of situations?
Sure. So, it's kind of a unique situation. We're overseen by kind of two governing bodies. One is 988 Indiana. They do a great job. They're out of Indianapolis, represented by the state. And another one's Vibrant Emotional Health, and they've been designated by SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration, to oversee the national project. They gave us some requirements and things like that, both at the state level and the national level, and said, hey, here's what we want you guys to cover in your training. You go ahead and create it. So with that, we have a rock star QA manager. Her name's Heather Rosenwinkel. She helped create this new program that we have, and it's an 80-hour, it's 2 weeks in-person, 80-hour intensive training. And then after that, it's another 2 weeks of kind of a hybrid real-world coordinated training where they're going to be answering live calls, but they're going to be watched over closely by the supervisors on the lines. And then that's going to kind of continue with some continuous learning over those next 2 weeks. And then from that point on, over the first 90 days, they're heavily evaluated to make sure they're a good fit for the program and for the callers.
So they're not just put out there to sink or swim, so to speak.
No, it's been a lot of checks and balances and make sure we're doing what's right for the people that are answering the calls so they're comfortable, and also making sure that the people who are calling are getting the best service. So this has been an evolving process, and that's what I quoted is just kind of where we're at right now.
Understood. That's good stuff, sir. So the 988 crisis hotline, you are dealing with people who are in a tough situation mentally, possibly physically. Can we talk a little bit about like the soft skills that are required for you to be successful at this job of handling crisis calls?
Yeah, absolutely. So our crisis specialists come from all walks of life. They've had a lot of different jobs in their past. We've had people that have become successful crisis specialists who were bank tellers that said that they constantly had a line because they were talking and people were kind of sharing their feelings with them. So it doesn't take a specific, education background or anything like that. We're really looking for people that are have that willingness and eagerness to learn, that they're empathetic, that they value teamwork, they have strong decision-making skills, strong emotional intelligence, and that they're open and inclusive to anyone that needs that help. So we'll work with anybody who is interested in this and we think is a good fit for the team.
It's a very important job. Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about volunteers. Is the Crisis Center currently seeking volunteers? And if so, what kind of roles are available for these individuals?
Yeah, we love our volunteers. As you know, we're a nonprofit, and today's political scape, funding's not always there. So we've partnered up with a lot of great corporate businesses like Centier Bank and NIPSCO, and then we just have small groups of people, small people with religious backgrounds from different churches that come and volunteer. Currently, 988, we've paused our volunteer program just because there's so much evolution going on, so much training. I just told you about that training schedule, and that's hard for somebody who is volunteering in part-time. So all of our people are paid employees, but throughout the rest of the Crisis Center, we have a thing called the Wine Fest. This year's our 31st annual one. It's a charity event. It has a ton of local businesses that help support it. A lot of local leaders. There's a live auction, dinner, open bar, and it's at the Gary Jet Center every year. They do a great job. And it's June 12th of this year, and there's still potential sponsorships available if anyone was interested. We do a thing called Campus Beautification, and we're always looking for volunteers to help lending hand, where we just had I think it was Anthem Church. I don't remember if they're out of Gary or Hammond, just came and did a mulch project with us. So freshening up for kind of that spring, summertime. We do a thing called Birthday Cheer, and that's volunteers that help spread birthday cheer to our residents who are all kind of in those teen years that are really missing home. And it's nice to, they make birthday signs, they make birthday cakes, decorate their doors, things like that. So there is a touch of care and love that they experience while they're at the crisis center. We also host holiday drives and holiday gift wrapping parties. Every child that's there, they get a lot of presents. They get more presents than I got when I was a little kid. They get new shoes, they get new clothes, because these kids are local to the Northwest Indiana community, and if they are, we still place them in their actual schools. So if you had a child from Valparaiso that came to the crisis center, we're going to have an employee drive them to Valpo Community Schools every single day. LaPorte, we will go to LaPorte. We've had kids go to Hanover Central. So we will get those kids to their school so we disrupt their life as little as possible. And kids don't want to show up in, clothes that aren't cool. So we make sure that they're dressed so they fit in, so they're not experiencing more trauma. They get their different toys that they want if they're younger. They get video games if they can, different materials that will help them succeed in school. So it's really a lot that we do and the community does for these children to make them disrupted as little as possible. But all these require volunteers and donations and things like that. So that's where our volunteers come in. If anyone ever wanted to be a volunteer, we have a volunteer coordinator. Her name's Renee Romanowski. Her phone number is 219-938-7070. Once again, 219-938-7070. Or you can reach her at crisiscenterysb.org. Once again, that's crisiscenterysb.org, and she'll let you know what volunteer opportunities or projects are coming up.
Is there a community calendar of the events and initiatives that you have coming up, much like the things you just mentioned?
So we just had our strategic planning for 2025 with our board, and one of the things is updating to a newer, more user-friendly website, which that will be part of that as we revamp our website.
Sounds good. Awesome. So sticking with the volunteers, we talked a little bit about the soft skills and the things that you need to kind of have under your belt if you're going to work on the 988 hotline or even with the crisis center. So what should someone know before volunteering or applying to work at the crisis center? What kind of advice would you give them?
That you're going to be helping a nonprofit right here in this community that helps Northwest Indiana kids. Like we said, we'll take kids from anywhere in Indiana, but most of them are from Northwest Indiana, and it's going to make it a better place for everyone. Especially having the youth that they didn't ask to be in this current situation. They've been forced into it. Their life's been disrupted, and we're trying to give them some normalcy. So you're going to be there to do that. You're going to be that influence in their life. You're going to be that big brother, big sister kind of figure in their lives. So there's a lot good to it because we just want them to have a stable, safe place to call home. And if you volunteer or you work there, you're going to be part of that.
That's good advice. That's a good note right there, sir. Let's move on to the next topic, impacting community involvement. Let's turn the spotlight on you for a little bit, Nick, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Can you just talk a little bit about how you came into this role and why does this role touch your heart? Why are you with the Crisis Center, sir?
Sure. So I was a police officer for 15 years. I got injured on the job and had multiple surgeries over a 5-year span and finally came to the point where due to some nerve issues and things like that, I wasn't allowed to be a police officer anymore. So throughout my career, I saw a lot of issues, family issues, and the crisis that resulted from that affected them generationally. I unfortunately dealt with a lot of suicides as a police officer, and then just to see that family year after year still traumatized from that, and then again generationally affected by that. When 988 came to and I found out there was a call center in the area, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I may not physically be able to help my community anymore, but I knew I still had a lot of good years left and that 988 would be a great place for me. And luckily I applied and got hired, and here I am now.
So I understand that you kind of took a little journey from your profession in law enforcement to where you are now. When you were in law enforcement, when you were a police officer, did you think that a job like where you are now was possible to help the families and help the community out the way that you are now, or was that even something that came across your mind when you were, had your badge?
Yeah, I don't think it was in my lens, my vision, to even realize that there was something like this out there. I was uneducated on maybe some of the resources that we had. So you just don't think about that. And you have more of a punitive mindset when you're in there, because that's just the nature of the job. But as you grow, there's always sayings in law enforcement. Usually the guys out hitting the street are within their first 5 years. And then at about that 5-year mark, you kind of decide, where do I want to go at in my law enforcement career? Do I want to go into investigations, administration, things like that? And then after about year 10, you start to really realize there's more to this than fighting crime. There's a community to protect, there's a community to help, and there's a lot more than just taking people to jail. People need chances, they need resources and things like that. So I was at that point in my career when I got cut short. So then it was kind of a natural transition to how can I help people still with the time I still have left to work.
Understood. It was just kind of placing your path,
Yep.
if you will.
Absolutely.
I find that a lot of times those are the best kind of careers, the ones that are just kind of placed out there in front of you for you to kind of reach out and take, if you will.
Yeah, 10 years ago, you would have told me I was in my current role, I would have said, I don't think so. But now that I'm in it, I mean, the crisis center is amazing. We have an amazing executive director, Marion Collins. She's a Northwest Indiana born and raised, Valparaiso born and raised. She actually held my position as the 988 program coordinator before she was promoted to executive director.
Okay.
So she's really laid the groundwork for what I'm doing now, and I'm just trying not to sink the ship. So I think we're doing some good things along the way, but yeah, she did a great job to
You and your
start
crew,
everything.
you're doing awesome, Nick. You guys are doing a great job, and you're providing such an invaluable resource for the community. It's so valuable. So let me move on to my next question. Are you able to share possibly any data or maybe a success story without giving too much information, of course, but would you be able to kind of tell the audience about something that's positive about this job, something positive that you've seen, like I said, some kind of success story?
Yeah, so kind of that anonymity piece and that confidentiality is, I think, what makes 988 work so well, and get people to trust it. So we won't specifically talk about any success stories, but what we can do is when people call the hotline, there's a chance for what we call a follow-up program. And that's where we'll call someone back, depending on the situation, between 0 and 72 hours after their initial call, to check on them, to check on some of the things we discussed during the call, and make sure they're in a safe place now. And time and time again, we hear things like, "You've saved my life." So that's all the validity and validation that we need to know we're doing something good and that this is a successful program. On top of that, people don't really grasp the scale of 988 and who's using it. It's widely used. It could be your neighbor, it could be your friend, it could be your coworker. So people are using this. The state of Indiana answered to over 8,500 calls in April of 2025. And we're led by a great leader down in Indianapolis, Kara Byro. She works tirelessly to collaborate with all 4 Indiana call centers and our one text-to-chat center. And Indiana is a top contender month in and month out for the best state for the 988 services that we offer. And that's all due to the work done in Indianapolis, collaborating with the different call centers and us working as a team to really help Hoosiers when they call text or chat 988.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about mental health and crisis support. So, over the past few years, let's just say the past decade, there's been a shift in the stigma with mental health. It's more addressed now. We're taking more initiative to kind of address that in communities around the U.S., especially here in Northwest Indiana. So along with the mental health aspect, how has the demand for crisis support changed in recent years, particularly in light of the mental health awareness efforts that have taken place over the past few years as well?
Right. I think it's just that major thing you just touched on, that destigmatization. It's still a work in progress, but we're moving that needle. So people are feeling more comfortable to talk about these things that haven't been okay to talk about their whole life. There's been a lot of national campaigns, athletes, celebrities who endorse that mental health. Hey, it's okay to not be okay. Having that open discussion, starting that education young among the youth so they feel comfortable when they're adults. It's helped a lot. Like I said, we're moving the needle in the right direction. We still got a long way to go, but it's better than it was.
Things that people were afraid to address a few years ago, now it seems like we're running full steam ahead to address these issues in our communities. So I'm really pleased to see this change over the past few years. Organizations like yours, of course, us at the Porter County Health Department, we really are trying to narrow in on that stigma of mental health and get those people the help that they really need here in Northwest Indiana. Can we talk a little bit about what efforts are currently underway to raise more awareness about 988 and the services that the Crisis Center offers? I feel like there's a large demographic out there who may not know about the services or the things that you guys provide at 988 or the Crisis Center. So can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we really for 2025 have addressed or came up with this plan of really a grassroots outreach plan. So literally just before this, I was at Valpo Community Schools for their Teacher Wellness Day. We had a table there educating people on 988, educating people on the Crisis Center, what services we provide, and a lot of people were shocked that this resource is here in their community. So doing things like that on a regular basis. I don't have this number exactly, but I think the Crisis Center did 14 different outreach situations, whether that was like a health fair or going to IUN and talking with their students, things like that in April alone. So we're doing stuff like that to spread awareness just about the Crisis Center, but then also with 988, the state has pushed a campaign in marketing. So I think it was this morning on my way to Valpo High School, I heard maybe it was on Indiana 105, I heard a commercial for 988. So that's starting to roll. People are starting to learn, but there's still a lot of education that needs to be done, and we're here to do it, and we will continue. So doing things like this is crucial for the community here, and I can't thank you enough for having us.
Absolutely. Well, that is the purpose of the PoCo Wellness Hour, sir, to shine a spotlight on individuals and organizations like you and who you work for right now, just to let the people know about the services and initiatives that are going on out there. So once again, we're pleased to have you on the show. For our listeners, how can they get involved to spread the word and support your mission, even if they don't want to necessarily be a volunteer? How can our listeners right now kind of help with the spreading the word?
Right, just knowing what resources are available to feed them to the people that may need them in their time. So they can visit crisiscenterysb.org that I touched on earlier. It'll give you a breakdown of exactly what our services are, the ages that they cover, some brief descriptions about the different programs and who can benefit from it. So just being educated on what's out there, and if you come across somebody that needs that help, being able to give them that resource. Shameless plug, we take donations. The way we're able to do these things for these kids and give them some of the kind of that stability and normalcy is through generous donors. Like I said, we do our wine fest. That's a huge thing. A lot of local businesses love to come to it. They love to support it, and we are appreciative of that.
And what's the date and location for that again? Your wine event, I'm sorry?
Yeah, it's going to be June 12th at the Gary Jet Center. It's pretty cool. Everyone's private jets are in the background. It's a really neat location. Oh, yeah. We have, like I said, live auction. We have trips with airfare. We have celebrity signatures, sports figure signatures. I think the big trip this year is a week to Sedona, Arizona, in like a 4 or 5 star resort with airfare included. So some really, this isn't your bidding on Cracker Jacks here. This is some quality stuff.
Some real prizes here, ladies and gentlemen.
I know the Horseshoe in Hammond donated stay at their new property in New Orleans, and that comes with airfare. So there's really some cool stuff that is available there for people who are interested in that type of thing.
That is awesome. I want to go back a little bit. You mentioned your background in law enforcement, and we talked a little bit about the skills that make people successful if they're going to volunteer or have a job at the Crisis Center or the 988 hotline. You personally, sir, with your background in law enforcement, and I think you mentioned you used to play football in college as well. Can you talk about the skills that you personally had to, or maybe you already had these skills, but can you talk about the skills that you accumulated from your from being a police officer, your law enforcement days, to working for 988 in the crisis center? What are those soft skills that you brought from that life into this life?
I think I've always been empathetic. I think I've always tried to put myself in other people's shoes and realize that just because something's presented a certain way, maybe we should really think about how that person is experiencing it. And then how can they benefit from whatever role I have currently in their life, whether it was law enforcement or 988, how can I do something to maybe better their situation? So yeah, and then I've always been kind of quick on my feet, thinking and problem solving, so that helps in certain situations. It was a career, like I said, of 15 years, and every little call or every little thing helped shape who I am today. When I was 23 years old, I wouldn't have been nearly as good or decent as someone in 988 as I am now. But as you learn and evolve as a person, you learn that there's more things to life than this black and white law, and that there is some gray to help people. I think then that ultimately helps shape how you see the world and what you can do for people in the world.
So let's just say that there are individuals out there that want to follow in your footsteps, whether they were in law enforcement or another branch of emergency management. What kind of words of encouragement would you give to those people, future people, so to speak, who would want to take part in one of these programs? What kind of words of encouragement would you give to them?
Right, just trust your gut. If you think there's a route you want to go, don't be afraid to go. Sometimes the path less traveled is the more exciting path. So if you're currently in something and you're like, maybe this just isn't the fit for me, realize there's options out there. You don't have to be stuck in something that you're not happy in. Follow your heart. My wife's a prime example. She was almost done with nursing school, had one semester left, and came to me and said, hey, I want to be a social worker. And I was like, are you sure you want to be a social worker? Quite the pay difference, but said, all right, let's do it. Because, my dad growing up said, I'm not going to let any of my kids work at U.S. Steel. It's a great job. It gave me a great life, but he said, I want you guys to go to college and I want you guys to pursue what you want to do. So you're not stuck doing something that you don't want to do for 30 years. So I took that advice from my dad, transferred it to my wife and said, go for it. And now she's amazing. She is a licensed clinical social worker, helping the foster kids in Indiana for Anthem Insurance. So just like that, if you have a different route you want to take, jump in head first and go for it.
Those are good words of encouragement. That's an awesome story there. And of course, we're on the radio here on WVLP 103.1 FM. And like I said, the point of this program is to reach the audience. We have a very active listening base right now. So chances are there's someone listening right now who may need some help, or maybe a little hesitant to reach out to this 988 hotline. What kind of words of encouragement would you give to them after our discussion today?
Yeah, I think a good education piece is if I could just walk through what a potential experience would be like. We kind of touched on it a little bit, but so when you call 988, you're going to get those options if you need some specified help, like the LGBTQ, or you're calling about a veteran, or you would rather have a Spanish-speaking line. And then after that, you're going to be connected to one of your Indiana, if you're calling from Indiana, crisis specialist. There's only 2 required questions that they're going to ask you. This isn't a doctor's visit. They're not going to go through a checklist. They're going to ask you 2 questions. Are you having thoughts of suicide? Or have you had thoughts of suicide in the past few days, including today? And have you done anything to harm yourself? And from there, the conversation is going to be, how can we support you the best? They will work with you depending on what situation you're going on. A lot of people are afraid that if they say, hey, I'm having thoughts of suicide, we're going to call 911. That is not the case. We de-escalate 99% of our calls, and that's the legit number, 99% of our calls. So less than 1% go to emergency services. The only time that you're going to go to emergency services is if you're in a situation where you are unable to keep yourself safe, or maybe you've done something already to harm yourself. The rest of the time, it's just going to be a conversation. We're going to use what's called the least invasive intervention. So that could be starting, it's kind of a 9-step program. The first step is just talking. Is you talking through your situation going to help you? Along the way, we'll try and de-escalate it for you. If it's not, we'll offer coping techniques, maybe some exercises to calm you down. Then we'll create what's called a safety plan. We'll see how your experiences have kept you safe in the past. We'll work into this plan to hopefully the plan you can utilize in the future to keep yourself safe. And then really it's just collaborating with that person on what's the next best steps for you. What can we do to help support you? Is it resources? Do you need resources? Because we will find you some resources. Is it maybe getting a friend or a family member involved to keep you safe for the night? Whatever it is, we will do everything we can to try and help you along the way during that call. Then I touched on the follow-up calls. At the end of that call, when everyone kind of agrees that, hey, I feel safe and I can keep myself safe, and the crisis specialist feels that that person's safe, we'll set up that follow-up call. We'll call you back, we'll check on you. Sometimes when we're in our crisis, we can't think straight, right? So that safety plan may be better suited being revisited tomorrow during a follow-up call. So then we'll go over that safety plan in that follow-up call. We will check on your safety level, make sure that you're still safe, and then kind of collaborate with you if there's anything else that's came to mind since that initial call.
That's really good information. I was going to ask about that. So this really isn't a one-way street, so to speak, where someone calls in. You mentioned that there's the follow-up aspect of it also, checking back in on this individual just to make sure that everything is A-okay with them. I don't think a lot of people know that or understand that fact about what you guys do.
Yeah, so, and it's completely voluntary. So we're not going to force you to take a follow-up if you don't want it. It's for people who want the follow-up and may benefit from it. We're going to set that up and do it for you. So, and then we always remind everyone in every single call, if you need us before that follow-up scheduled, we're available 24/7, 365. Someone will be there to talk to you. If you want to chat, if you want to text, if you want to call, do it. We'll be here.
So it seems like, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a cookie-cut process, so to speak. Each call, each situation is handled on its own handled on its own basis, if you will. No two situations are alike. I understand that people may be calling in for similar, scenarios and situations, but it seems like what you're saying, no two situations, no two calls are exactly the same necessarily.
Right? Nobody likes to be told what to do, right? So our crisis specialists aren't going to tell you how to help yourself. They'll guide you along the way, but it's going to be a collaborative process, because who knows yourself best but you? You know what's worked in the past. You know what may work in the future and what may not. I could tell you all day long that you may benefit from a relationship with a mental health professional. Maybe you've been scorned in the past or had a poor one, and that's not what you want to do. So if I demand that you do that, you're probably not going to do it. But if we collaboratively come up with a plan that you agree on, you'll probably follow up on that plan. You'll probably do it. So that's kind of the key to it, is that collaborative process of working out those next steps to keep yourself safe in this current situation or a future situation that maybe you can now look back on and say, hey, 988 helped me with this past one. Either I can call again, or I learned some things during that conversation to help keep myself safe now.
Understood. And like we said on this radio program, someone's listening right now who may need some help. So please don't delay. If you feel like you need help or you need to reach out to somebody for a situation that you're going through, please, 24/7, this 988 hotline is available for you.
You can call, you can text, you can chat. If you go to the website to chat, There's a couple different ones. There's the national one and the state one, and I want to make sure I pull it up correctly. So it's the state website is 988indiana.org. Once again, that's 988indiana.org. It'll have links to all the different resources that are available. It will have the chat feature. So if you want to chat like a old school AOL Instant Messenger, there's that version. You can text it. It also has resources for deaf and hard of hearing, where they offer a video phone to crisis specialists. So there's a lot of options there to really just learn and educate yourself. There's also things, not to go too far off into the weeds, but Indiana is instituted this thing called the Crisis Continuum. Mm-hmm. So 988 is Pillar 1, we call. Pillar 2 is a mobile crisis team. And Pillar 3 is what we call Crisis Stabilization Unit. Crisis Receiving and Stabilization Services, we call it for short, Stabilization Unit. So during these calls, if our crisis specialist isn't good at de-escalating you, and you may benefit from having somebody come to you and de-escalate you, that's what that mobile crisis team is. We'll suggest that to you, or you can suggest it to the crisis specialist. They will then immediately try and get that mobile crisis team. And not every county's covered right now, but it's growing monthly, more counties covered. So what that is you'll have a professional and a peer, someone with some type of letters after their name come that can help de-escalate you in person. It's overseen by somebody that has some type of medical background. So you're going to get good services. What also is going to happen is they may be able to fast track you into some of these resources. Maybe you're being told it's a 13-week wait to get into a counselor. They have the ability to potentially speed that time up. And then these crisis stabilization units, to generically put it, it's a 24-hour, 365 emergency room for mental health. You can go there for up to 23 hours, be evaluated by mental health professionals. We have one in Lake County. There's two in Lake County, one in Gary, one in Maryville, and it's very comfortable. They have food there. They have showers there. They have laundry, because sometimes some food in your stomach, feeling clean, and maybe some clean clothes can do a lot for a person. So there's a lot of resources that people don't know about, and that with this crisis continuum are really growing in the state of Indiana. So it's exciting what the future holds.
It is really exciting. That's a lot of good information right there, Nate. We're coming to the close of our show, but I did have a few more questions for you. So I know we've talked a lot about a lot of serious stuff here, a lot of important programs and initiatives. Like I said, very serious topic. But for these last few minutes, we're going to lighten up the show a little bit. We're going to just have a little fun, if you will, so you guys can get to know Nick a little better and maybe get to know me a little better too. So there are... I purposely did not send you a few questions because I wanted to get your genuine reaction on this, just to have a little fun with you. I've got a few questions here. One is this social media thing that's been going all around. I might as well ask you, because it's been going all around our office and whatnot. Nick, who wins, 100 men or one gorilla?
I think there's a lot to that. I think I need to know everything. Where are they at?
We can lay down some. Okay.
Well, where are they at?
Well, let's start with the gorilla. I believe they average between 450, 500 pounds. So you got that. They're going to be on yeah, let's just paint the whole picture.
All right.
They're in a level playing field. They're in Africa. They're in a great plain somewhere. No trees or anything. So the gorilla can't climb or anything, because that would be one heck of an advantage for them. So they're standing in the middle of a big field, something like you would see in, movie 300 or something, and they're just squaring off. One gorilla, 100 men. They're just looking at each other. That's the scenario. Plain field, grass, 100 men, in one line, one gorilla just standing there saying, what's up? What you gonna do?
I could ask more questions, but I won't draw it out. I don't know. I find it hard that the 100 men couldn't beat the gorilla.
Could not?
No, that they would beat the gorilla.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think it's really makeup of the men or women or anyone that wants to be involved in it. Are they soldiers? Are they fighters? Do they have some type of athletic background? I think it all plays into it.
You know what? Let's put another little stipulation on it. These 100 men, similar to you and me, they used to play college football. Let's say we have 50 linebackers and 50 linemen, the guys who put their helmets in at every play, not as pretty boy running backs like what I was. So we have 50 linemen, 50 inside linebackers, that crazy mentality versus one gorilla. You still think those 100 men are going to take down Mighty Joe Young?
I think in that scenario, without a doubt, the humans win in that situation. I know a couple of my roommates were crazy middle linebackers, so I know their mentality.
You know what I'm talking
about? I was a fullback, so I ran into people head first every day. So I think they take them.
Man, you just mentioned something, fullback. That's an extinct position now, and I hate that.
It is.
But you bring up a good point. So you're going with Team Man.
I'm going with Team Man if it's the makeup that we just said. If it's 100 random people off the street, I think it's going to be pretty close. Is the gorilla going to be able to not tire out? If he doesn't tire out, because I'm going to guess about 75% of those people may turn and run the other way.
That's a good point.
Once they see the first person get decimated by that gorilla.
One way or another, I was going to say those 75 of those individuals are not going to make it. I think the gorilla is going to go through 75% of them. But like you say, the endurance factor, after he goes through those 75 people, will he have enough for the other 25? It's a good topic. I don't know. What do you guys think? Well, let me ask you another question, good sir. Who wins in a fight? In the water, of course. A great white shark, Jaws, or a killer whale, Free Willy. Who wins that? And there is evidence on this, actually. They've done several documentaries on this.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of maybe something I've heard word of mouth or, I don't know, saw on Facebook, who knows. But I think don't the whales actually hunt out the sharks and eat them?
That's a good point. That is true. And they often do it one-on-one. So, killer whales are actually the largest members of the dolphin family. So they travel in pods. So they're a family unit. Usually they hunt together. But when it comes to the great white sharks, they usually kind of take them one-on-one from what I'm seeing in these documentaries.
Yeah, some of those whales are gigantic. So I don't know if the shark would really do any damage.
Nothing to play with, What about who wins between a tiger and a lion? Who's the real king of the jungle?
I just saw something on this, and that the tigers can swim underwater for a significant amount of time.
And lions hate water.
Yeah, and they just said that lions are the king of the jungle because they have nice hair. I don't know. I think I'm gonna go with the tigers on this one. There's some bad predators.
Even though the male lions do have the mane, usually tigers do way more than lions and lionesses. So it's a good pick. I'm with you on that. I would probably go with a tiger, I think. Is Bigfoot real, Nick?
I can go down a rabbit hole, but
I got some of these from my crew back at the health department. They helped me come up with some of these questions. I got to give them some credit.
I can appreciate that.
Thank you, ladies.
I think there's just too much technology out there that we would have had some hard evidence by now if it was 100% true.
Yeah. So you're thinking it's fake?
So many cameras everywhere. Yeah, I think it's a myth.
Maybe they're just that evasive.
Could be. They could be smarter than us and more evasive. But yeah, there's a lot of cameras out. The deer cams and nature cams, and it seems like every time there's one presented, looks like Zach Morris took it on a 1984 cell phone. So I need some clear, concise HD Apple billion pixel proof.
I'm going to be honest, at this point, I'm going to need Bigfoot to walk into an actual building, sit down, have a drink of coffee, and introduce himself. For me to believe that there is this mythical figure out there who could take on a bear, who could live out in the woods all by themselves, no kind of civilization. Kind of with you on that. I think that's fake.
Right. Then we got the question of what about Bigfoot or the gorilla? I don't know. That's really good. That's a rabbit hole.
Well, if we're going to assume that Bigfoot is real, that is a good one. I don't know. I'll just roll the dice, and I'll probably just say Bigfoot since he's so evasive. We can't get him. You can't get him on camera. It seems.
Maybe Bigfoot's flying the UFOs.
You know, I should have asked something about the aliens. I was thinking about that. You think aliens are real? Maybe.
There's a lot of weird stuff that goes on in space. So.
Yeah. Let me just ask you a couple more questions. We're at a 50-minute mark, but we're about to get out of here, sir. You're a big, strong guy, but I want to know which scenario is a little more scary for you, sir. So let's just say you're camping, Northwest America. You're in Washington, Oregon, out there with the big redwoods, if you will. So which is a scarier scenario? You're walking in the dark at midnight to get back to camp in bear-infested woods, or I don't know how good you are at swimming, or you are 150 meters or 200 meters away from shore and shark-infested waters. I don't know, maybe you were surfing or your boat sank or something. Which one of those scenarios is more scary for you?
Yeah, everyone that knows me knows I'm not getting in that ocean. So
no?
The sharks.
Not a swimmer.
Nope. I go in knee deep. That's about it.
I hear you, man. I'm the same way at the lake. You know, I don't know what's in there. So, one more question. I'm going to get you out of here, Nick. And once again, thank you for your time. As a fellow athlete, former athlete, I should say, if you had to win a race to save your life, a 100-yard dash, would you rather race a three-legged horse that's not a racehorse, you know, just a regular working horse, not a racehorse that's bred for that, a three-legged horse, or would you rather race an Olympic sprinter who has to carry a full-grown St. Bernard the entire time? 100 yards, save your life. Which scenario are you picking?
Well, it's been a good life because I'm probably not going to win either of those.
No? St. Bernard's kind of big, Nick.
I think I'm taking the sprinter with the St. Bernard, and I'm probably going to throw some meat towards that St. Bernard to really mess with that sprinter.
Got to save your life, man.
Right?
Well, that does it for the funny questions that we have here. Nick, I want to thank you for your time, sir. Thank you so much for coming on to this episode of the PoCo Wellness Hour, educating our audience, educating me about the different initiatives and programs and services that you all offer. I feel like a lot of this information is new information to a lot of our audience. Like I said, it's new information. Some of it, at least, is new to me. I want to thank you for your time, but I do want to give you one more opportunity. Is there anything that you want to touch on? Is there anything you think I left out? Is there anything that you want people to know about 988 or the Crisis Center? Maybe you want to say what emails or websites they can go to find information?
Yeah, that main one for 988 is going to be 988indiana.org. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of good information on there, a lot of links to get you where you need to be, a lot of local resources for if you want one of those crisis stabilization units to go to, or you want a mobile crisis team to go, what counties are covered, things like that. Just always try and remember, if you see somebody down, you see someone not acting themselves, and you're worried about them, trust your gut, talk to them, and try and plug that 988 in their head. They may not call it tonight, they may not call it tomorrow, but maybe 3 weeks from now they really need it. So remember, it's 24/7, 365. It's confidential, it's free. You'll have a trained crisis specialist there to try and work with you through your problems and try and decide what the best next steps are for you.
Sounds good. Anything else, sir?
I think that's it. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you allowing us on here to help spread the word and help that education piece on 988.
This is important information, and like I said, this is the purpose of the PoCo Wellness Hour, to let people know about the services, programs, initiatives, things going on in the community that they might not be aware of. So we hope that you are aware of 988 and the Crisis Center now, ladies and gentlemen. Nick, thank you so much for your time, good sir. And to our audience listening, we hope that you learned something today from our conversation. And please remember that a healthy community starts with each and every one of us. Let me tell you a little bit about about an event that we have coming up here. It is steadily approaching. It is fast approaching. Friday, June 13th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Join us for the second edition of our summer kickoff to Health and Wellness Family Fun Fair at Central Park Plaza in Valparaiso. It's going to be hosted by us, the Porter County Health Department. This free event is back for year number 2. We have vision and dental screenings. We have vaccinations, sports physicals, heart screenings, free haircuts for the kids, free backpacks with school supplies, free face painting, and more. It's a perfect way to kickstart your summer, healthy, happy, and ready to go. That's Friday, June 13th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Central Park Plaza, and we hope to see you there. For more information on these kinds of events and programs and initiatives that we discussed today, you can head to our website and our social media. You can find us on the Porter County Government website. That has changed to www.portercountyin.gov, or you can go straight to our health department website, which is www.in.gov/local health/Porter County. Or you can go straight to our social media sites. We are on Twitter, or X if you want to call it that, x.com/county_Porter. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Porter County Health DEPT for department. Or you can find us on Instagram, Porter_County HD. Once again, this is Demetrius Lewis, Communications Manager for the Porter County Health Department, signing off. And thank you for joining us here on the PoCo Wellness Hour on WVLP 103.1 FM, your show for community connection. This is your show for health, community connection, and overall well-being. Have a healthy and safe week, Porter County. Peace.